Mayor Adams met with Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas to discuss our city's needs related to the asylum seeker crisis. We made it clear that New York City cannot continue to carry the weight of a national problem on our own. This is an all-hands-on-deck moment. We need others to step up and play their role as New York City is doing.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase the dumbest newsmakers of the week. And for this video, we're talking about my former home, the People's Republic of New York City. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, so I know a little bit about how the city works and its history, and especially its liberal policies. Oh my goodness, the stories I could tell you. But for this video, we're talking a specific story about New York City's sanctuary city policies and how the city is finally getting its comeuppance. As you know, there is a crisis on the southern border. We're getting a huge influx of illegal immigrants and also asylum seekers at ports of entry and then crossing the border illegally as well. It's been well documented how Secretary Mayorkas from Homeland Security has basically failed at his job to the point where the Republicans in the House want to impeach him, and it just keeps getting worse and worse for New York City. This is called comeuppance, ladies and gentlemen, for decades of a policy that went against common sense. Let's get into the numbers of what's happening in the People's Republic of New York City.
Another 4,000 migrants are expected to arrive in the city by the end of the week. The mayor says so far they've taken in 93,000 people since the spring of last year. That is the equivalent of filling the seats at Madison Square Garden almost 5 times.
Dozens of asylum seekers packed closely together in line outside the Roosevelt Hotel Monday. Most have been out here for 2 days straight, sustained by free snacks and a few water bottles.
2 days in the street, sleeping on the street, on the wall.
As we watched these men wait outside to be processed and placed, we saw 3 more city buses pull up and unload. Some with families straight from Port Authority, others with more men getting shuffled around shelters to make space.
We're trying to do our best to get people in as quickly as possible. We've been saying for months, unfortunately, we're out of space.
The city has opened nearly 200 facilities for asylum seekers, but with thousands more expected to arrive this week, Mayor Adams maintains the federal government needs to act.
It's not going to get any better. From this moment on, is downhill.
Elected leaders rallied in Manhattan Monday, begging President Biden to declare a state of emergency, as well as expedite work authorization for asylum seekers, many of whom are hungry to work but legally unable to do so.
And by the way, folks, these lawmakers that are coming out to beg President Biden to take some action, these aren't Republican leaders. These are Democrats. These are tried and true Democrats. These are deep blue state Democrats who are looking for help from the federal government to stop the stem of migrants, illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, whatever you want to call them. And I'm sure that there's a wide variety that fit one or more of those descriptions. And they're all ending up in the People's Republic of New York City. And why are they ending up there? Glad you asked. So this is an article from back in 2017 from, and let me make sure I get the name of the organization right, the Center for Popular Democracy. I bet you know what they advocate for. Sanctuary city policy wins in New York City. On October 31st, 2017, you might remember who was president back in 2017, the New York City Council passed Intro 1568-2017, establishing that no New York City resources can be used for federal immigration enforcement purposes. While New York City already had one of the strongest sanctuary laws in the country, immigrant-led groups like CBD's partner Make the Road New York have continuously pushed to limit local cooperation with the federal government's mass deportation agenda to the maximum extent possible. Now, whether or not the federal government had a mass deportation agenda is a point for debate, right? Obviously, depending upon the administration, you would have a different point of view. Back in 2017, when President Trump was tackling illegal immigration and trying to get as much control of the southern border as possible, and let's be honest, he did a better job at that than President Biden has been doing, and certainly Secretary Mayorkas has been doing, what we see is a history in the People's Republic of New York City of resisting, you know that term very well from the past administration, of resisting the federal government's policy of enforcing their own immigration laws. This goes back to even the late 80s when Mayor Ed Koch signed an executive order declaring New York City a sanctuary city. So you have this long history in New York, especially in the People's Republic of New York City, of resisting federal authorities and being a haven for illegal immigrants to reside and to settle in. Well, guess what? Once the floodgates opened when the Biden administration took power, New York City ended up getting a lot more migrants, and we're going to explain why in just a moment. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. So the reason why New York City has been seeing an influx of illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, migrants, whatever you want to call them, is because, well, they're being sent there. We know from the past year or so that Governor Abbott of Texas, Governor DeSantis of Florida have been moving migrants who have been settling in their states to places that are sanctuaries for migrants, illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, whatever you want to call them. And they've been settling in the People's Republic of New York City in the number of thousands per week since the spring of 2022. It's reached critical mass to the point where the only thing being talked about in city government right now is what to do with all these people. I want to reiterate the numbers coming from the city itself and the rhetoric coming from the People's Republic of New York City. Again, deep blue Democrats, liberals of every stripe, I dare even say leftists in government, are turning on the Biden administration because of their own sanctuary city policies that allowed this to happen. Let's listen to this press conference involving the deputy mayor overseeing the immigration crisis going on in New York City.
Last week, along with leaders Schumer, leaders Jeffrey, Dean Nadler, and members of the New York congressional delegation, Mayor Adams met with Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas to discuss our city's needs related to the asylum seeker crisis.
Now, let's be clear. Let's listen to those names. Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Jerry Nadler, and the Democrats in government, Eric Adams, who is the mayor of the People's Republic of New York City. They're going, presumably, to go to a friend, to go to a partisan ally, to say, what are you doing to us? And again, it's not so much what the federal government's doing to them. It's also, they should be asking, what did we do to ourselves? We'll get to that in a moment, though.
We made it clear that New York City cannot continue to carry the weight of a national problem on our own. This is an all-hands-on-deck moment. We need others to step up and play their role as New York City is doing. This is a humanitarian issue about real people and real lives. Asylum seekers are coming here to seek the American dream. It is time for the rest of the nation to step up.
So now we're going to get to some raw numbers about who's who and what's what and what's going on here.
Before we open it up for questions, I'd like to go over some of the numbers for this week. As of July 30th, we have 107,900 people in our care, including 56,600 asylum seekers. Over 95,600 people have come through our system since last spring.
Notice how we're using the generic term people. Asylum seekers, we're going to use the legal distinction there, but the rest are people. We don't want to use the legal distinction for what legal status those people may be.
We have opened 194 sites, including 13 humanitarian relief centers. And last week alone, from July 24th to July 30th, more than 2,300 asylum seekers entered our system.
That's not everyone that entered the system. That's just asylum seekers. They didn't tell us how many people, wink, wink.
As you all can see, the situation is not letting up, and there does not seem to be any end in sight. We call again to our federal government to do more, including naming the asylum seeker crisis a federal emergency, to speed up work authorizations, and to enact a national decompression strategy.
Now, will the federal government, will Joe Biden declare the migrant crisis, asylum seeker crisis, people, wink, wink, crisis, a national emergency? Your guess is as good as mine, but wouldn't that be a capitulation of the failure of the Biden administration to manage the southern border? To do that would be to play into the hands of Republicans, wouldn't it? So New York City, the People's Republic of New York City is tapping out. They're saying, we're done. We can't handle this. This is a crisis, and we need you to acknowledge this is a crisis. Again, these aren't Republicans saying that. Deep blue Democrats are tapping out on the immigration crisis.
With that, we'll open up to the floor to questions.
And some of the questions I highlight here, by the way, the whole video is going to be on Forbes Breaking News's YouTube page. I leave a link in the description of the video so you can watch the full 37-minute press conference.
Still arriving on buses from the southern border?
So there's still a lot. I think last night we got 3 more buses, and today we're expecting more buses. So the buses from Texas are continuing. They certainly are not.
The buses from Texas are continuing. That's a victory. That is a victory for Governor Abbott. That's also a victory for Ron DeSantis. Remember, the policy of those states to use buses to bring migrants to sanctuary jurisdictions like the People's Republic of New York City, they've done it. They won. They proved their point. The immigration crisis is not just for southern states to handle. It's for the whole nation to handle. And by sending these migrants to the People's Republic of New York City, to other jurisdictions like Chicago, like places in Colorado, like Denver, or to California, other sanctuary jurisdictions, they've made their point that this is an overwhelming crisis. And I think liberal cities like the People's Republic of New York City are finally understanding what everybody has been talking about when it comes to these sanctuary cities. Remember, voters asked for this. Voters wanted this. The government decided with open arms to accept this policy, to create this policy in a stand against President Trump and his immigration agenda. Well, guess what? Now you reap what you sow.
What we've seen, a couple of months ago. But I think that's why there's a little disconnect with people who are like, what is going on in New York City and how is it possible that you're seeing that many people? But right, I can't make that up. We are seeing 2,300 people a week still coming into New York City seeking shelter. That is unsustainable.
So actually, I have 2 questions. The first question is, a few weeks ago, you and the mayor announced that you were going to do your own strategy by sending people to the border with flyers saying, don't come to New York.
Yep.
So my question is, how many people have you actually sent to the border? How many flyers have you given out? And why has it not stopped the flow?
So I'm going to get back to you in terms of how many people have actually received the flyer. We know that we definitely wanted to put it also on social media. I think, Marsha, people are coming here because they're desperate. And so we really need the federal government to help us with a decompression strategy because people still have need. And so if they were to help organize where people can go to, and if we could have other cities do half of what New York City is doing, I think we would be able to manage this much better.
Let's talk about these flyers for a minute. I want to show you exactly what they're talking about here. So New York City actually created a flyer to distribute at the southern border, basically telling people, stop coming to the People's Republic of New York City. This is absolutely priceless. The flyer reads, since April 2022, more than 90,000 migrants have come to New York City. Now, by the way, that number has jumped up to over 100,000 according to the press briefing that you were just listening to. There is no guarantee we will be able to provide shelter and services to new arrivals. In other words, stop coming here. Housing in New York City is very expensive. Yeah, we all know that who live here as well. But these people are not coming to rent an apartment on Park Avenue. They're coming because you have put out the bat signal saying you are safe here. You will not be deported if you are in the People's Republic of New York City. And we have the resources to put you up for free. We're going to put you in these migrant centers. We're going to have you be able to work. We're going to give you New York City ID cards. That's why they're coming here. It's not because they're looking at real estate prices. The cost of food, transportation, and other necessities in NYC is the highest in the United States. They're basically admitting how hard it is to live in the People's Republic of New York City to migrants coming here who they've already signaled, hey, come here and you'll be safe. Please consider another city as you make your decision where to settle in the U.S. My goodness. And they also made the flyer in Spanish, as you see here, to make sure that everybody understands what's going on. Look at the map where they have the dot in Texas and it's going out everywhere else. Oh, man, what a self-own. Let's see what other little nuggets we can get from this press conference.
Deputy Mayor Adams has said he's most proud of the fact that migrants haven't been sleeping on the street like other cities in San Francisco out west.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, with some of the actions the city's taking, questioning the right to shelter, the 60-day rule, don't you think that it's likely that we're going to start seeing the sort of encampments that we've seen out west and other cities across the country if the city makes these sort of moves? And then secondly, I'm wondering if there's actually, I think some people are wondering if the city has more moves that it could do in terms of renting space. Is there nowhere for the people that are sleeping on the sidewalk to go?
So the mayor has said he's been proud of not having people sleep on the street. And you know, I've been particularly proud of not having people sleep on the street.
Wait a minute here. Didn't we just see a news report that said that people have been sleeping on the street for the past 2 days while they've been waiting to be processed?
Dozens of asylum seekers packed closely together in line outside the Roosevelt Hotel Monday. Most have been out here for 2 days straight, sustained by free snacks and a few water bottles.
2 days in the street, sleeping on the street, on the wall.
Oh yeah, they actually did say that. So there you have it, folks. This is a liberal tapping out of a liberal policy. You love to see it. Folks, thanks for tuning into the video. Be sure to like, comment, share the show with your friends, subscribe to the channel, smash that notification bell so you never miss another show, and please, keep coming back for more conversations discussing all the shenanigans going on this week in DUMBmocracy. Emphasis on the dumb.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.